For this week's lab and discussion post and assignment, it's covering percent and sign numbers, which is the same thing as negative numbers. So I'm going to have two sets of educreations, one for percent and one for sign numbers. So the first thing we're going to talk about is changing forms of percent, such as fractions, decimals to percents. On the right side of the screen are the tricks to help you, and there's about 3 of these on the lab, so there's not many. So we're going to first start with the fraction. We're going to take this fraction right here, the 1/4, and we're going to change it to a decimal. For fraction to decimal, this was back in chapter 2. So this is where you've already done this. So you're just going to take the top number divided by the bottom number. So you're going to say 1 divided by 4, and you should probably know this, it's 0.25. So that's a fraction, 1/4, and the decimal 0.25. Now you need to change it to a percent. I use DP to help. It just means that this is a decimal and this is a percent. So since we're going from a decimal to a percent, you're going to move it to the right. And so when you move it to the right, if you remember percentage always means out of 100. So when you move it to the right, you move it 2 places. So all you're going to do is move that decimal 2 places to the end, and you're going to get 25%. So that's just changing the fraction to the decimal and the decimal to the percent. So on the next one, we have 0.36, and we're going to change it to a percent. So you currently have a decimal, and you're going to do the same thing as up here. You're going to take the decimal and change it to the percent, which is moving it twice to the right, and you get 36%. So now what we're going to do is change it to a fraction. So you can either change the percent to a fraction. If you're going to do that, that's this down here, the times 1/100. But it's always easier to change the decimal to a fraction. If you remember this back from chapter 2, you take whatever's behind the decimal and you put it on top of the fraction, and the bottom number is either 10, 100, or 1,000. It's a 1 with some zeros. So you have 2 digits behind the decimal, so you have 2 zeros. And then, of course, you have to simplify. Let me move this out of the way real quick. So you're going to simplify. I use 2, so then you're going to put 18 over 50. And then you need to simplify again, and I'll do it by 2. So you're going to simplify, and you're going to get 9 over 25. So that's the fraction, 9 over 25. The decimal was 0.36, and the percentage is 36%. Now down here on the bottom we have 16%, so we're going to change it to a decimal. So if you go back up here to the DP, this time we're changing the percent to a decimal. So this time you're going to move it to the left, and you're always going to move it twice. So when you move it twice, you get 0.16. And again, it's always easier to change the decimal to a fraction. So again, you'd put the 16 over in the there's 2 digits, so they're over 100. You divide by 2. We'll divide by 4 because it goes quicker. 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. And there's about 3 of these on homework, or sorry, on the lab. So the next thing we're going to do with percents is solve some of the word problems. On the lab, it does say, some say use the percentage formula, some say use the percentage proportion. The thing with percents is you can do them in any way you'd like. There's multiple ways to work percents. If you like to shop, I always say that, if you like to shop, you go to the store, you move a decimal and do the math, and that's perfectly fine. For things such as quizzes, tests, assignments, I prefer to have something to go back to, a formula. So on the left side of the screen are the formulas. The first formula is when you have the small problems. I always call them 1-sentence percentage problems. And that is the sentence that's over to the left, and it says 24% of what number is 15. You might remember this formula from school. It's percent goes over 100 because, again, it means out of 100. and you put is over of, and it's just the closest words that are, closest numbers that are to is and of go in their places. And most people love proportions because there's only two steps. You cross, multiply, and divide by what's touching the letter. It's a form of algebra. So for this problem up here, we have 24% of what number is 15. So all you're going to do is plug everything in. And we know that percent goes over 100. So the percentage in this problem is 24%. So they put that over the 100. Then you group the rest of your words. It says, of what number is 15? So that 15 is touching the word is. So that goes on top. So that goes on top because the formula is over of. And then it says of what number. So since it says of, that's your variable. That's what you're searching for. Well, proportions, again, have only two steps. You're going to cross multiply. I usually start with the variable because if you like algebra, you know the variable usually, it's more comfortable for it to go on the left. So 24 times x is 24x. And then you're going to multiply the 100 times the 15, and you get 1500. And then the last step is divide by 24. Now, to do it like this is not necessary. It's just helpful for people who struggle with this. So you're going to say right here, you get 24 and 20 divided by 24 goes away, and you're left with x. And then over here, you just type in 1500 divided by 24, and your answer is 62.5. And that's the final answer for 24% of what number is 15. Just because my screen is so small, I'm going to go ahead and erase this and just keep the formula for you to see. Anything larger than that, what you're going to have is, you can't use is and of because sometimes there's more words than is and of. So what you're going to do is you're going to use percent over 100 equals part over whole. If you do look it up in the book, it says portion over base, but they don't have a whole lot of meaning for people, whereas part and whole, everybody knows what that means. The whole is the total amount, and the part is what it's talking about. So if this number over here is how many have blue, this percent has blue eyes, this number is how many have blue eyes. So proportions are always related to each other. So over here I have a problem already written, and so the problem would read, you have 300 students in a school, 60% of them are female. How many are female? So again, the percent always goes over 100, so that's an easy one. And it says there are 300 students in the school. So that means the total number of students. So since it's the total, that goes on the bottom, it's the whole. The other thing that can help is to understand that, again, proportions are equal. So this 60% means how many are female. So whatever this is that's how many are female. And that's what we're looking for. How many are female? So you're going to put an X up here. And again, with proportions, all you do is cross multiply. So 100 times X is 100X. And 60 times 300 is 18 with 1, 2, 3 zeros. Let me get my calculator up. So, let's see. And you get 18,000. And then you're going to divide by the 100. And when you divide by the 100, it's the same as moving the decimal twice, or you can turn it in. You can do the division. So 18,000 divided by 100 is 180. And for all word problems, you should write the unit. So it's 180 females. No, on my math lab, you don't need to write the units. It is usually written there for you. There's maybe 4 or 5 of the is over ofs, and I don't know, about 2 or 3 that have part over whole. Okay, this is the last thing you need to look at for your percentage problems, and this is number 1 through 11 are your percentage problem. A lot of students try to make this more difficult than it needs to be. It says find the amount of increase if 68 is increased by 15%. For this one, it's just the one step, and don't make this overcomplicated. All you're going to do is take 68 times 15%. Now, you can never do math with a percentage sign So the quick version of this is just to multiply. So you would take 68 times, and again, you can't do math with a percentage unless you have a percent button on your calculator. So what you do is you change the decimal, or sorry, the percentage to a decimal, and we covered that on the first page, and that just means move the decimal to the left twice. You get 0.15, and then you just type that into the calculator. So 68 times 0.15, and your final answer is 10.2. There is one more type of problem that I just wanted to talk about. Is sometimes with percentage they have extra steps involved. So what you're going to do is, let's hold on right here. So the problem is, so a computer disk that once sold for $2.25 now sells for 25% less. Okay, so what you're going to do, and then it says how much is the disc now. This is like a discount or sales tax. Sometimes there's multiple steps. So again, you put the percent over the 100 and the part over the whole. Well, we're looking for the part. And the whole is it was $2.25. So you're going to cross multiply. So 100x. I always start with a variable. 100x equals 25 times 2.25, and you get 56.25. Sorry, decimal. So you divide by 100, and you get 0.5625. Now this is money. So with money, you can never leave it like this. Money has 2 digits after the decimal, and this was like in chapter 1, you round to this nearest cent. And when you round that, you get 0.56, and so that means 56 cents. Now that's how much the discount is. When it says how much is it now, you have that extra step, and what you say is, well, it was $2.25, and you're saving 56 cents. So you're going to take 2.25 minus 0.56 because you're saving that amount of money, and the final number is 1.69. If it was sales tax gets added to your bill, so instead of subtracting, you would add for that one. And I believe there's a sales tax question in there. So this is the video for percentage.